Hi everyone. Hi and welcome to today's webinar, Are You Really Data-Driven? My name is Fredrik Selander and I'm the CMO of SuperOffice. With me here today I have Liv Ann Holst, Head of Marketing Norway from Dun Bradstreet. We are today's hosts and we are super excited to get you started on the data-driven journey. More than 300 people signed up for this session, so we see a huge interest in being more data-driven.
Yes, and today we will listen to Pernille Møller-Lund from SuperOffice, Majid Malik from Dun Bradstreet, and Liina Veidemann from PayEx. And you can ask questions on the chat on your right-hand side, and we will try to answer them if we have the time, but if not, we will surely reach out to you in afterhand. And at the end, we will try to summarize and find some good ways to move forward on your data-driven journey. And now it's my great pleasure to welcome Pernille to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. And thank you, Fredrik and Liina, for the introduction. It's very nice to see such a big crowd for today's question. Are you really data-driven? Let's kick off by reflecting a little bit upon the challenges about data-driven decision making. And I actually think there is quite a few challenges, and they can look very different from company to company, so they may also look different to you. But in my mind, you can net it down to 4 key challenges. First is to extract the actual data from whatever system it sits in, and then being able to combine that data with other data that is equally well hidden or difficult to get hold on. And once you have the data, to organize it and make it visible in a manner that actually makes sense to the audience. And once visible, to make it accessible to all the relevant stakeholders that you may have. Because good data-driven decision making requires that no one should ask anyone for any data. It should be at your fingertip if it's relevant for you. And then once accessible, it needs to be real time, because obsolete data is lethal to any business. Looking at yesterday's numbers, unless it's those you actually want, is lethal to your business. So to overcome these challenges, and apologize but not being biased at all, we at SuperOffice see CRM as a very efficient tool to address exactly these challenges. And you could argue it's what CRM is all about. And to grasp the full potential of a CRM solution, we need to start out by asking ourselves, what is CRM at its very highest level? And CRM is about maximizing your company's value by systematically developing your customer portfolio. And the key word here is systematically. So relevant to ask, in what capacity can CRM help you develop your portfolio? How can the data that sits within your company, sits within your CRM solution, where it's hopefully organized, visualized, and made accessible to those who need it, according to my previous point, how can that help you grow your portfolio, grow your value? And in order to answer that question, we first need to agree on the following. The value of your customer portfolio depends on how much you sell at what price and how many times you continue to sell it. And so if we can agree on that, the mission must be to make the dark green square on the slide here grow bigger in size and move up the X and Y axis. And in a very simplified way, you can say that there are 4 ways to make that happen. You can win net new customers, either in existing markets or in new markets. And this heavily depends on you knowing who your customer is. And this is where Dun Bradstreet comes into the picture. You can sell more to those you have, to your existing customers, more of the same product, or you can challenge your cross-selling. And this is where extracting data on customer buying history is key. You can disengage with the customers who are not profitable to have customers, which will require the well-structured and visualized data from my previous point. Or you can make a focused effort to keep and take good care of those who are profitable, also called reduced churn. And this is where having a customer service platform that automatically keeps track of requests and journalize that into your CRM system is key. And as a company who wants to grow your portfolio, you need to ask yourself which of these 4 strategies is the most relevant to you. Now, you can do all 4, in particularly if you have years of working with CRM as a strategic tool. But most often companies have main focus on either revenue or EBITDA, depending on what their situation is. Have they just been acquired? Are they about to be sold, etc.? But most often we advise our customers to prioritize amongst those 4 strategies. And once you've done that, then you can start working with your data in your CRM system in a much more systematic approach. And one way to become more systematic is to use the customer journey as an analytical tool. So let's have a look at the customer journey. The customer journey can look a little bit different depending on whether you are B2C or B2B business. But these 7 phases are very generic, and I'll walk you through these 7 phases in just a minute. But what I want you to be mindful about as I walk you through is that each phase consists of numerous touch points. And a touch point is an event where you have an opportunity to interact with your customer or your prospect, because the customer has a question, a curiosity, a need to be fulfilled, and you, as the vendor, has an answer to the question, or you can address the curiosity, or you have a solution to the need. So each touch point is an opportunity to do really well and leave a good impression with the customer. And each touch point is also an equal opportunity to do the exact opposite and leave a disappointing experience. And I endorse you, as we walk through the 7 phases in a minute, to ask yourself, what type of touch point do you have with your customer? And do you use the data that sits within your company or within your CRM system to make the experience that your customer have in the touch point as good as it possibly can be? Can you digitize the data? Can you automate the data so that the workflow in the touch point become more relevant, precise, and fast, and leave a better customer experience? So let's have a look at the 7 phases and translate them into possible touch point. And this is where I want you to consider your own touch point. How do you interact with your customers and prospects? Now, you start out by not being aware of your need in the gray area called out of market. You know that Carlsberg makes beer, but you don't know that you're thirsty yet. And you don't know that until you get triggered by an ad, the trigger phase. And then you start retrieving information about who in the market can put out your thirst. You read reviews, you Google, you ask your network. And this is all happening in the initial brand consideration phase. So my question to you here is, how does your prospect investigate the market? Meaning, what channels do you need to be on? Then you make a short list of the potential suppliers. You're now in the active evaluation phase, the red area. And this is where you go into a shop, you visit a website, you ask for reference material, you request a proposal, you exchange emails, you have several meetings, phone calls with the salesperson. Again, the same question to you. What does your active evaluation phase look like? How does your prospect like to get sold to? Have you asked them? Do they want white papers? Do they want videos? Do they want a free trial? What data do they want in order to make their decision? And so if you as a supplier has been successful in this phase, your prospect is now in the purchase decision phase. And this is a very, very key touch point where you need to make it as easy as you possibly can for your customer to sign. Do you use digital signature so that you get information on your phone as soon as the customer has opened the proposal? And do you then use that data to decide when to call the customer and follow up? Once you have the signature, your prospect has now become a customer, right? And is in the experience phase, the dark green phase. And this is where the real challenge starts, to be honest, because now you have to make yourself worthy of their continued business. So what type of data do you use in this phase to make them feel welcome and deliver a superior customer service? Do you ask them with customer satisfaction surveys what they think about being a customer, so that you can use that data to improve the experience? And do you make sure that that data is accessible in your CRM system for a proactive improvement rather than a reactive improvement, so that the customer moves further onto the loyalty phase, light green area, and continues being a customer, which is what we want from my previous point, because that's how you grow the value of your portfolio. Now, the point is that in each touch point, there is potential data. And I want you to consider what data you can digitize, because it's either valuable to your customer or it's valuable to you as a supplier to make a more informed decision. Because informed decisions make a better experience for your customer. And so before I wrap up, I want to give you a couple of examples of what that digitized data could look like if we translate the touch point into digital CRM. Now, same journey, but now with CRM capabilities. You start out again in the gray area, being out of market. And the value of having automated, updated, and clean data in your CRM system cannot be emphasized enough. Integrated market data. Not only does it save your employees a lot of time, it also increases the return of your IP targeting because your target group become much more exact, right? And your mailings become equally more targeted. And that would mean that the number of call to actions will increase. And therefore, it's super smart to digitize that process and make sure that the call to actions with follow-ups are automatically loaded into the salesperson's calendar for them to act upon diligently and with insight. And when we talk about mailings, it's very valuable to use your click-through ratios to continuously evaluate what messages, what content is working and what is not, and then adjust accordingly over time. And when it comes to your websites and the active evaluation phase, it's a matter of making them as interactive as possible. First and foremost, get to know who visited you. We use that extensively ourselves, and we can track it in our CRM system. But in general, make it as easy as possible for the visitor on the website to leave relevant information data about their need. And that's where, as you can see on the slide, web forms and chat are very valuable tools here. Looking at the good old phone is still a very huge touch point, right? And to have integrated telephony into your CRM system gives you the opportunity to conduct a much more insightful and therefore relevant conversation. And the more you know, the more you sell. And the beauty of it is that the person in the other end actually feels taken care of. Digital templates and proposals gives you insight about how long the reader spent squaring the proposal, and that gives you the opportunity to optimize your proposals going forward. And if we go to the dark green area in the onboarding phase, you can create flows that ensures that your customer gets signed up all the right places and to all the right programs, and then you can track and learn what offerings are the most popular and then do more of these. And if you use AI services as an example to optimize ticket categorization in your service queue, that will enable a much faster and much more exact response, leading to the much more improved customer experience that we're chasing. And last but not least, but in moving further on to the loyalty phase, release the potential of having customer portals where customers can sign in to myxyz.com and perform self-service, and again leave valuable data behind for you to make even better decision on what their need and preferences are. And last but not least, make it possible for your field sales and service people to log whatever relevant data they must meet when they're out in the field. So, in summary, 3 points to leave you with. First and foremost, prioritize your CRM focus in accordance with what your strategy is of how you will grow your portfolio, the 4 key strategies that I mentioned initially. Then use the customer journey as an analytical tool to challenge what your touch points with your customers look like. And then last but not least, translate the touch point to the data needed in the touch point into a digital CRM capability. So with that, I will wrap up and I will leave the stage to the next presenter, who is Majid from Dun Bradstreet.
Thank you, Pernilla. Good morning, everyone. My name is Majid Malik. I work as a senior solution manager and sales developer based in Oslo, Norway. And I have the pleasure today to talk about the value of being data-driven, how you can become more dependent on data, and how you can drive sales and marketing activities. But first, a brief introduction in terms of Dun Bradstreet. For almost 200 years, we've been helping clients and partners grow and thrive with the help of data, analytics, and data-driven solutions. We are one of the biggest players globally in terms of data and analytics, and with the acquisition of Bisnode last year, we have over 405 million records in our database, and it's an ever-growing database, so more to come. The DUNS number is in the center of everything we do. So that's a unique identifier for business identifications globally, and that will help you understand who you are doing business with. And I think one of the most interesting fact here is that 90% of the Fortune 500 companies, they trust our services. And that says a lot in terms of them having complex needs and also complex problems in terms of data. And we help them in terms of accelerate and thrive with a data-driven journey. So what does it mean to be data-driven? Becoming data-driven, it goes beyond just installing some software tools or hiring data professionals, making heavy investments in data. I think you need to make data and analytics a fundamental part of your business strategy, your organizational culture, your processes, and throughout all levels. So this is a big commitment, and it is a continuous process. So you need to really invest and commit to data, and you will also see that if you do that in the right way, it will also turn great results for yourself, your department, and your company. What we can see that data-driven organizations, they don't only they collect, analyze, and derive insights. Just as Pernille also mentions, there's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of data being generated, and you need to be really sharp in able to understand what data is important for me, my organization, and how can we take actions based on that. So that is a really important point here. So why should we focus on data and let that be at heart in our business decision making? Well, research shows us that through 2024, organizations will accelerate their investment in data and analytics with 40% to become more data-driven and digital. So that's a lot. We also see that data-driven organizations can outperform their competitors by 6% in profitability and 5% in productivity. And if you look at it from a CRM perspective, estimates show us that 91% of CRM data is incomplete and 70% of the data goes bad annually. And I think you can find a lot of research in terms of why you should be data-driven, the benefits of having a data-driven approach, but also the consequences. If you're not being or working data-driven today, you will be lagging in terms of innovation and the projects that are coming, and you're also wasting a lot of time and money. So if you don't have your leadership on board in terms of why be data-driven, I think there's a lot of arguments and research that shows us that you have to start that journey already today. And in able to be data-driven, you need to integrate data and analytics across your business. So this is a big challenge, and we know that 80% of all firms, they struggle to manage the volume, variety, and velocity of their data. And with the new solutions and touch points, you have a lot of data being generated, and then you need to have a structured approach towards all that data and let it flow. Let it flow across all your business and all departments. I think that's a key point of how you would be able to succeed with your data-driven projects. As I mentioned earlier, the DUNS number is at heart of everything we do, and we can see it here. Is going through all departments. Different departments, they have different needs. So marketing, they're important for them is ROE, building audiences. Sales just want to close the deals and have the right insights. We know that finance, they care about risks, scoring models, credit limits, and compliance. They want to know their customer and they want to screen them, identify UBOs. So as you can see, it's a really complex situation. There's a lot of data. And the best thing you can do is to break these silos. Break the silos between marketing, sales, and compliance, and start talking together to find synergies and build on that. I feel like this is perhaps a topic for another webinar, but Dun Bradstreet have solutions for all these departments and how you can be more data-driven. For today, we will focus on marketing and sales and the CRM system, because that's a really important tool for the marketing and sales department. Having data in your CRM, either it's Dun Bradstreet data or other type of data directly in your CRM system, it allows you to leverage accurate, actionable data to drive better business decisions. So this means that you're able to find the right entity. You don't have to manually punch, or sales don't have to use a lot of time identifying the right company. That should be given, and it should be easy for you to identify the company you want to do business with. Once you have identified the company, you need to enrich it with data elements. So that could be financial numbers, company data, that could be contact persons, and etc. Once you have the data as well, you'll be able to understand your customer in a much better way, and you will be able to analyze the data and understand and drive perhaps account-based marketing campaigns based on the information. And last but not least, you need to trust the data. As I mentioned previously, most of the data in the CRM system is outdated. You can't make good data-driven decisions based on bad data or outdated data. So you need to trust that the data is up to speed, it's updated. And once you trust the data in your CRM system, you will thrive and you will start to think more creative, and you will try new things and try to optimize. That's an important part as well. The good news here is that right now we have 2 integrations directly in your SuperOffice CRM. So one of them is from eCentrum, which is called Bisnode Business Contacts, and the other one is from SiteShop, which is called Market Data Nordic. You will receive this presentation later on, and I have put in URLs on the logos, so you can click on them to read more. So by installing this application, you will allow your data to flow throughout your organization, especially with sales and marketing. So you have over 38 million companies in this integration. You can ensure data quality. The data will be automatically updated. You will be able to work with your data quality, because that's a big investment in time and money, and it's kind of boring. It's not that sexy to talk about data quality, but at the same time, I think that's the most important thing, because if you do not have done that job in terms of having clean data in your CRM, that would create problems later on when you're trying to build audiences. That would be you would have audiences that are not correct because you're basing it on outdated information. So data quality, really important. And you can also build and look for prospects. So once you understand who are my ideal customers, can I look for similarities in terms of my most profitable customer? You can also find similar accounts. That would be based on your strategy. If you want to acquire more customers, new logos, that's a really good way to go forward. So you are able to get the data directly in your CRM system. And I think the good part here is once you have the data, that's when the fun starts. You need to gather around the data. You need to involve all departments and start to understand who are my most profitable customers, in which segments or industries do I have most customers, and which segments are we missing. So once you have that type of data, sales and marketing would be able to talk better together and create synergies. Once you have the data, what's next? Yeah, so one important point here is that if your executives aren't able to understand or communicate the importance of using data to drive decision making, then it will never become a priority. So I think that's the step number one. You need your leadership to be committed in terms of investments in data, building structures, common structures, especially across countries. So if you have businesses in multiple countries, you need common structures to be able to be successful. Once you have that leadership thumbs up, you need to build relationships to support collaboration in your own organization. As I mentioned, gather around the data scientist, you have marketing department, you have sales, you have finance. Everyone has needs in terms of data, and they have valuable input that they can put into this process. And instead of saying that we don't understand each other, break these data silos and try to come together on the data. And one thing that goes again, and Pernilla also mentioned it, customer satisfaction. So if you can gather around the data, because that will make sure that you have more satisfied customers, then let that be a good start. Make data accessible and trustworthy. So accessible in this case would be directly in your CRM. It could also be in ERP system or map. So, and it needs to be trustworthy. Your sales department and marketing need to trust that is updated data, or else they would have doubts in terms of running data-driven campaigns or account-based marketing. One other thing is that you need to focus on the metrics that are important to you. So everyone has some experiences that they can share, but the metrics or the way you would approach the data-driven journey, that would be based on your own company strategy. So do you need to sell up existing clients? Are you looking for new logos, new customers? Is churn a big problem or non-profitable customers? The strategy should be based on those parameters. I can give you some examples today. So once you have the data, what can you do? In terms of upsell, because it's common knowledge that it's much easier to sell up an existing account than to acquire a new one. So once you have the data, start looking at the company linkage or the hierarchies. So we have a client which is based in Norway, but they are part of a bigger structure or hierarchy with the head offices in Germany. So we, as a company, as an organization, we need to understand those structures, because next step for sales would be to talk to headquarters and able to make a deal that would be cross-border or a bigger deal. So there's a lot of value right there in terms of your own customer portfolio, understanding the hierarchies, and also having a strategy that goes for the headquarter and the big deals. You can look at the revenue growths. Which of my clients are growing right now? You can segment your portfolio based on credit information, right? So you can have the most profitable or the most the customer with the least risk. You can drive projects that are valuable towards them. Industries are also a really interesting topic, because you have different industries in different countries, and you don't really understand where do I have most of my customers. And the last part is try to find similarities in your customer base or your most profitable customers. If you find these traits or similarities, you are able to find your ideal customer and then start to look for twins. Can I find more clients like the one I have? And that's a really big potential there for growth as well in terms of upsell. Last point here: test, analyze, optimize, and test again. If it's any help, even we, Dun Bradstreet, as a big player in data and analytics, we are not data driven enough. So it's complex, but we acknowledge the fact, and we want to do things to become better each and every day. And even though it's really hard, just start and test and analyze, and you can optimize then it's really important that you talk together and that you're really focused on testing and optimizing your processes going forward. To summarize, key takeaways here. Let data be a fundamental part of your business strategy. It's a big commitment. You need to get leadership on board, and you also need to invest in different data structures and also data input. You need to kickstart your data journey. You can do that by installing these SuperOffice data applications to have that data in your CRM system. And I think that's really important for sales and marketing especially. Sales and marketing should be best friends, and that would be provide great results and growth. I think Fredrik Selander had a post on the SuperOffice blog in terms of why sales and marketing should work together, hands in hand, and you can check that out to get more insights on that. The last part is be prepared, because it's hard. Be prepared to do some hard work and dare to be creative. So even though we're talking about data and AI and machine learning, we will always need a human touch. So be creative, analyze the data, be bold in terms of how you communicate. A really big trend right now is account-based marketing, as I mentioned. So you can target specific industries and accounts, and you can be bold in terms of your communication, because we know the B2B buyer's journey, there's a lot of people involved and it takes a lot of time. So you need to be creative to reach out. It's a little bit wrong with my slide here, but on the right side it says what's hot right now. I'll finish with that. Yeah, so what's hot right now from Dun Bradstreet? It's a customer data platform called CDP. That you have the customer in the middle, and you can see the buyer's journey around awareness, research, consideration, decision, and purchase. This is a powerful platform that would allow you to analyze, understand all the data, systemize it, and run successful account-based marketing campaigns. And this is our contribution after investing in these kind of products for many years, in terms of helping you understand your data and be united from a digital marketing perspective, sales perspective, and marketing perspective. So the links are below here as well. So please make sure to check that out. We will have a more focus on this product called Dun Bradstreet RevUp ABX in the Nordic and European market in the time ahead. That was all from me. Thank you very much. I will send it over to Liina from PayEx, who will share some thoughts and insights about their data-driven journey.
Thank you, Majid. My name is Liina Veidemann, and I'm coming from PayEx. I am currently working as Head of Sales Growth and Excellence, but I have over 20 years experience in sales and marketing from different companies, industries, and countries. And what does it mean to be data-driven? Well, it takes time to change, and when you work with a sales team, it's really important that you take with you that everything that you want to introduce to them, you need to be able to answer the question, what's in it for me? And when you work in sales, a lot of the things that you depend on are your people and what they are doing. We do get the hard numbers. The hard numbers are the result that we do get from sales, and that is usually quite easy to get your hands on. However, you need to have more things that support you in your coaching of your sales team, or in the action you want to take with your sales team to improve that hard number. And it's really important that you can tell your salespeople what will they get out of this data, not just the management, but the salespeople that help them make that better decision and improve their result. It's essential that you really know what you want to accomplish, and you pinpoint What indicators will give you an early warning that something is deviating compared to expectations? So what does that mean for us at PayEx? In PayEx, we started a journey 4 years ago to become more data-driven. And it is a journey. It's constantly moving, it's constantly changing, and with the organization's change and the market demands. A key for us to be that data-driven, to get it more integrated in everything we did, was to make the decision that nothing was reported to management that we couldn't derive from sales daily work within the CRM system. For us, that meant we picked up all our data from SuperOffice and from our ERP system. And as you heard before, one of the critical things for us was data quality. And we decided that we wanted our salespeople to focus on data quality, that they were the ones they could control. They was the ones then talking to the salespeople and their aspects of everything. But however, we needed that basic data quality in our system of our company's information. So we integrated SuperOffice to Dun Bradstreet and business contact to get that integration, that constant update of the changes, so we could rely on the data that we have. The next thing that was extremely critical for us was that we decided that all the data that we wanted to use had to be collected during sales normal work. And that in turn helped our salespeople to understand that in order to be visible and be seen, they needed to work within the CRM system, because what they were seeing as their individual performance and their result was the same set of data that we actually picked up and aggregated to present to management. And we use this data to coach our salespeople. And in the KPIs that we used, and normally sales can rely on quite standardized ones, and we can lean on the customer interactions, the meetings, we can lean back on the pipeline, and we can lean back on signed contracts. Those three are quite basic. For us at PayEx, we have quite long sales cycles. It takes 12 to 18 months from start to finish. So we know that we needed multiple KPIs within the pipeline. So we actually went back to our sales process and looked at the stages and added on some KPIs and indicators that we kept an eye on. And one of these KPIs by itself doesn't tell you that much. It's the combination of the KPIs that give you that good, clear picture of what's going on. So for instance, you can have a lot of customer interactions and everything seems to go well, but those interactions doesn't drive any sales opportunities. Then you are having a little bit of a problem. Or for us, that we could have some salespeople with a great pipeline in the end stages, which meant we probably will see some really good results the next coming months. But unless we start changing something in the early stages, we would run into an issue in 12 to 18 months when those early stages from the pipeline should have progressed to the later stages. And we use this in our coaching. And we also, during this time, we need to go back, analyze, look at it, adjust, analyze, and adjust again. So what did that result for us at PayEx? What could we gain from it? Well, over time, it enabled us to do much better industry analysis. We were able to identify twin companies, and we could point our salespeople towards the right type of industries, type of companies, verticals that most likely would have a better outcome with our products and solutions. And we also could view our data over time because it took some time. And during this time, we learned what are our lead times, how does our hit rate looks like, what is the sales velocity for both the team as a whole, but also individuals and for different product groups. And we could start using that data to make actions based on it. And as I mentioned before, one of our challenges were our very long sales cycle. So we used multiple KPIs. And those KPIs by itself, it's not a right or wrong. They're not always giving you everything. It's the combination. But those combinations gave us an area of discussion with the salespeople. And we also understood that we needed to clarify the expectations we had on salespeople for these different stages. And we also choose to start presenting and showing off not just the sales result within the organization, but actually all the work before the results, our KPIs, our indicators that we use. We start showing off how we were performing at different steps to the rest of the organization to make them understand what we were working on and what it actually meant. And then, of course, like we are still in the pandemic in some ways, but in March 2020, everything halted. All customer interactions stopped. We got very clear indications quite quickly that decisions were postponed to a later date, to a very unknown future. And we know right there and then that we needed to make some changes or we would have a negative impact on our results. So what did we do? We went back to our data because we did have that knowledge of our lead times, our hit rates and sales velocity, and started to see what could we do. We couldn't control the market. We couldn't control the pandemic and what happened there, but we could control our actions. So we went back and started looking to what we can do. One of the things that we did was to start looking at type of customer prospect that we approach. Normally, like a lot of organizations, you need to find new customers. However, it's very hard to initiate the first contact and try people to know a complex deal on Teams. It is a challenge to get that relationship going. So we actually allow our salespeople to start focusing much more on existing relationship. What customer or prospect had they established a contact on? What could they actually do? How could they approach them? And what type of offers during this time? We also decided to start improving our salespeople's skills, and we invested in some money in training and education on our salespeople to improve skills and capabilities. And we also went back and sit down with our salespeople to talk about these different KPIs and the knowledge that we had of lead times, hit rates, and sales velocity, average deal size, and talk to the salesperson and ask them, what could they do within their pipeline to do some changes? How could they make a shift to progress deals forward? At the same time when this took place, we also decided to let our management team know that we saw an increased risk that we could have an impact on our expected target. We might not actually reach it. At the same time that we let them know of this increased risk of not reaching target, we also presented this is action plan that we have put in place in order to offset that potential negative impact. So what was the result? For us, that actually meant that we, after that initial dip of customer interaction that just halted in March 2020, we start seeing increased interactions with customers and prospects. A lot of them were within our customer portfolio. So we saw a lot more customer meetings and potential discussions of business within our existing customer base. But we also saw that wherever our salespeople had earlier had interactions, they reached out to them again and started having more and more meetings to progress potential deals. We could also see an improved qualification skills of our salespeople. They started qualifying their deals that they have in the pipeline at a much earlier stage. We had previously seen in our lead times that when we had a customer that we won, the lead times were much shorter than we looked at the lead time on won and lost customer. And we had an idea that probably we were hanging on to the deals too long. And with this training, we actually got our salespeople to ask the tough question, and they actually start pushing out some deals that they, by qualifying the potential more carefully, realize that this potential customer will not become a customer within the certain time frame. And they actually pull them out of the pipeline and put them on their to-do list to call that contact later on to discuss the potential at that stage. And now they rather focused on the other ones. They freed up time and effort, and it changed the look of our pipeline a little bit. we had a bigger chunk of potential things in the early stages and fewer in the later stages, but the later stages had a much higher quality. And this gave us actually an increased revenue of 16% during the pandemic. So what do we want you to take with you when you start your journey? What should you think about? What should you take with you? Well, dare to be selective of your shoes and metrics. Just because you can measure something doesn't mean you should. And you really need to go back to that first question. What will help you and what will give you an early warning that something is deviating compared to expectation? And that is set for your KPIs that you maybe put in, but also the actions that you are taking to offset certain things. You also need to make sure that the data indicators that you want to use can be derived from your sales daily work. If you can't find it in what sales is doing today, you need to change how your salespeople are working so you can find it in the future, or you need to go back and see, is that metrics really what you want? And don't try to do everything at the same time. It's okay to start with one or two. And the last one, fail fast. We will do different things and take action that doesn't really pay off. That's okay. Fail fast, learn and change it and go at it again. And celebrate your wins. And I don't just mean the result. Celebrate whatever you have put in as your measurements, your indicators, your KPIs. Celebrate them at an early stage. If the result becomes a really good one that you wanted, then you get to celebrate again. And if it for some reason didn't give you the expected result, then you have at least been able to celebrate once, and you learned something and got with you some knowledge that could sharpen your ability to put in the right indicators and actions for the next time in order to reach that wanted outcome. And with that, I will leave it over to Liina and Fredrik to close out.
Thank you so much. That was great presentations from all of you guys. And Pernilla, she put her emphasis on the customer journey and how we can...
We can't hear you, Liina.
Okay.
Let's see here. Now I hope you can hear us, right? I hope so. Oh, that's good. That's great.
Perfect. So thank you so much for great presentations, everyone. And Pernilla, she put her emphasis on the customer journey and the importance of using the different touch points to interact and to gain growth. And Majid, he spoke about the challenges of breaking down those silos and making the data valuable and flow across the organization to secure growth. And Liina, in her final presentation, shared how they've been working tirelessly to use data to optimize sales and to improve their results. And I mean, a 16% growth during a pandemic is truly fantastic. So I think it's all about gaining perspectives, and you need the necessary perspectives, and that's what you will get by working more data-driven. And this will make our companies thrive. And you can look at data kind of as a compass that helps you move in the right direction, regardless of the territory. And I also think that data needs to be a key component in your company's strategy, as Majid also mentioned. And I think if we move the strategic focus on data and CRM into the management and to the boardrooms, we can make sure it becomes an integrated part of your company's strategy, and it will give you a substantial competitive edge and far more muscle power in your market. So, it's all about understanding your customers and understanding the markets that you are operating in. That's what it all boils down to. And I mean, to make this happen, you need insights and you need data to help you understand what drives your customers, what are they interested in, and what keeps them up at night, and how can your services appeal to them. So just some final takeaways. So find out What are your largest business challenges? Because we can't start with everything. We need to pick our fights and we need to start somewhere. And what kind of insights do you need to be able to solve these challenges? What data will you need to be able to solve the different issues that you might have in your organization? And last but not least, please promise yourself to act on the insights that you pursue to make sure that you can move forward and to grow and to thrive. Very important. And finally, we are very happy if you want to contact us. If you have any questions in regards to the different presentations you've heard today, feel free to send us an email. We will also get back on the questions. We see that time is running out from the chat. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really great.
Yeah, it's impressive and great to kick off the day in this manner, talking about data and how to become data driven. I hope you learned a ton and can start improving your business already today. So
have a great day.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.